This is Math 113, 2037 trimestral. And today we're going to discuss about the limits of E functions and already in week 10. So last week we discussed about the tangent lines and velocities and growth. Okay? And last week we have discussed also the limits and continuity. So today it's a continuation of limit po ulit. Okay? Sabi dito, the limit of a function. The idea informally. So calculus has been called the study of continuous chains, and the limit is the basic concept which allows us to describe and analyze such chains. An understanding of limits is necessary to understand derivatives, integrals, and other fundamental topics of calculus. So the limit of a function describes the behavior of the function when the variable is near but does not equal a specified number in figure 1 if the value of the function of x get closer and closer as close we want to one number L as we take values of x very close to but not equal a number constant. Okay, so this is now your figure 1. We have your d, x, and y axis. So meron tayong kulay pula dito which represents your functions. So last week we have discussed about the tangent lines. Okay? So parang ganito rin po yung ginawa po natin last week. Okay? So we have the three colors of lines. The first one is the red, which represents the function. The second one is the black, which represents the second line. And the other one is the blue, which represents now the tangent line. Okay? So today, parang ganito rin po siya. So we have your the constant, which represents the value of your x. As x approaches to your constant, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to project it upward kung saan tama-tama po yung ano natin doon sa given function. Then after that, project it to the left para makuha po natin yung value po ng limit po natin. Okay? So say the limit of the function of x as x approaches constant is L. And we write the limit the function of x as x approaches the constant is equal to L. So the symbol arrow to the right means approaches or gets very close to. So ibig sabihin hindi siya eksakto, no? So the function of constant is a single number that describes the behavior value of f at the point x is equal to constant. Okay? The limit the function of x as x approaches the constant is a single number that describes the behavior of f near but not at the point x is equal to constant. Okay? If you have a graph of the function near x is equal to constant, then it is usually easy to determine that the limit of the function of x as x approaches to constant. Okay? So there are three methods for evaluating limits. The first one is the algebra method. So yung algebra method, ginamit na natin yon when we discuss the topic about the limits and continuity. Okay? So we have here the algebra method. The algebra method involves algebraically simplifying the function before trying to evaluate its limit. Often, this simplification just means factoring and dividing. Okay? But sometimes, more complicated algebraic or even trigonometric steps are needed. So ito po yung ginawa po natin last week. We have here the 5 rules of limits. And at the same time, we concentrated on the rules of the quotient. Wherein, sabi po doon, the limit of that denominator should not be equal to 0. So yun po yung ginawa po natin dito. Noon. So there are two methods pag natitira. We have here the table and the graph method, which we're going to discuss it today. So to evaluate the limit of function of x as x approaches constant, the table method involves calculating the values of the function of x for enough values of x very close to constant so that we can confidently determine which value of the function of x is approaching. If the function of x is well behaved, we may not need to use very many values for x. However, this method is usually used with complicated functions, and then we need to evaluate the function of x for lots of values of x. So doon sa table method, no, parang yung ginawa po natin sa tangent lines, when we're going to assume numbers or values which are very close from the left or to the right from our reference point to get the exact coordinates for the tangent lines. So, ganun din po mangyayari mamaya doon sa table method natin. Okay? So, first, we have your the example for the graph method. Okay? So, use the graph of y is equal to the function of x in figure 2 to determine the following limits. Letter A, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 1. Letter B, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 2. Letter C, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 3. And the last one, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 4. So, by this time, we're not going to compute dahil ang gagamitin po natin is the graph method. Okay? So, paano gamitin yung graph method? So, we're going to look on our figure 2. So, based on our figure 2, meron kayong x and y axis, then meron kayong dalawang function na given ito. Yung isa, medyo mahaba siya. Yung isa, maigsi po siya. Okay? So, we have now our solution. So, paano gamitin yung graph method? Sabi po dito, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 1 is equal to 2. Okay? When x is very close to 1, the values of the function of x are very close to y is equal to 2. So in this example, it happens that the function of 1 is equal to 2, but that is irrelevant for the limit. The only thing that matters is what happened for x close to 1, but x not equal to 1. Okay? So ito yung answer natin sa letter A is 2. So paano nakuha yung 2 po dito? So we're going to look our figure 2. So from our figure 2, sabi dito, the your x-axis which represents your constant. As x approaches to 1, okay, project it upward. Okay? Dito tumama yung limit po natin sa given function. And then, project it to the left, the answer is 2. Okay? Any questions for letter A?
Sir, wala po.
Madali lang, no? Okay, next, letter B. F of 2, or the function of 2, is undefined, but we only care about the behavior of the function of x for x close to 2 and not equal to 2. When x is close to 2, the value of the function of x are close to 3. If we restrict x close enough to 2, the value of y will be as close to 3 as we went. So therefore, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 2 is equal to 3. Okay? So figure 2 po ulit, no? As x approaches to 2, ito na siya, no? Then project it upward. Okay? Dito tumama sa given function na yan. Then project it to the left. The answer is 3. Ito po yung limit po natin. Okay? Any questions po for letter B?
Wala po.
Okay. Next, we have letter C. When x is close to 3, or as x approaches the value 3, okay, the value of the function of x are close to 1 or approach the value when. So the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 3 is equal to when. For this limit, it is completely irrelevant that the function of 3 is equal to 2. We only care about what happened to the function of x for x close to and not equal to 3. Okay? So ito po siya yung figure, ano po natin, no? Figure 2 po natin. So the limit the function of x as x approaches to 3, the answer is 1, no? 1 po yung sagot. So paano siya nakuha? So as x approaches to 3, okay, projected upward, projected to the left. So the answer is 1.
One.
Okay? Next, sabi niya dito, uh, for this limit, it is completely irrelevant that the function of 3 is equal to 2. So may point po dito na tuldok, okay? Pero ang sabi dito, this is an irrelevant limit. So bakit tinawag nilang irrelevant limit? Kasi wala siyang tinamaan na function, yung kulay blue dito. So this is an irrelevant limit. Okay? Next, you have letter D. This one is harder and we need to be careful. When x is close to 4 and slightly less than 4, x is just to the left of 4 on the x-axis. Okay? Then the value of the function of x are close to 2. But if x is close to 4 and slightly larger than 4, then the value of the function of x are close to 3. If we only know that x is very close to 4, then we cannot say whether the function of x will be close to 2 or close to 3. It depends on whether x is on the right or on the left side of 4. In this situation, the function of x values are not close to a single number. So we say that the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 4 does not exist. Also, it is irrelevant that the function of 4 is equal to 1. And also, the limit as x approaches to 4 would still be undefined if the function of 4 was 3 or 2 or anything else. Okay? So, ito yung sagot po natin, no? As x approaches to 4, our limit does not exist. Bakit does not exist po siya? Dahil pag titingnan po natin, ito yung isang functions po natin, ito yung isang functions po natin. So, hindi natin ma-identify kung ano pong function ang gagamitin natin dito. Kaya sabi dito, if the function of 4 was 3 or 2 or anything else, 3 or 2. So, pwedeng itong 3, dahil tumama siya dito, pwede siya dito sa 2, no? Kasi tumama rin siya sa isang function. Pero ang sabi dito, these two limits are undefined. Ang tawag po dito is undefined. Okay? Tapos may isang ano dito, yung 4, sabi niya dito, it is irrelevant. So yung limit dito is irrelevant dahil wala siyang tinamaan na function. Yung kulay blue po dito. So therefore, we cannot specify kung anong function dapat, either 2 or 3. So the answer there is that as x approaches to 4, there is no limit, does not exist. Dahil dalawa yung tinamaan niya na function. Okay? Pero itong dalawa, tawag to doon is undefined limit. Ito is an irrelevant limit. Okay? Any questions po?
Sir, wala na po.
Okay, next. Next, we have number 2, no? So determine the value of the limit 2x squared minus x minus 1 as x approaches, x divided by x minus 1 as x approaches to 3. Okay? So if we're going to look on the denominator, okay, substitute na natin yung limit po natin. 3 minus 1 is 2. Ibig sabihin, hindi po 0 yung denominator natin. Okay? So if we're going to make use of algebra method, no? Algebra method muna tayo, no? 3 minus 1, the answer of your denominator is 2. Dito naman, 3 squared. So 3 squared is 9 times 2 is 18. Minus 3 is 15. Minus 1 is 14. So 14 divided by 2, our answer is 7. So therefore, our limit for this function is equal to 7 using the algebra method. Pero sabi niya dito, solution, we need to investigate the value of the function of x when x is close to 3. If the function of if the function of x values get arbitrarily close or to even equal some number L, then L will be the limit. One way to keep track of both the x and function of x values is to set up a table and to pick several x values which are closer and closer but not equal to 3. So tulad yung procedure doon pagdating sa tangent lines. So sabi dito, we can pick some values of x which approach to 3 from the left. Say x is equal to 2.91, 2.9997, 2.9993, and 2.999999. So nakasum siya ng values which is very close to 3 but not equal to 3. So and some values of x which approach to 3 from the right. Say x is equal to 3.1, 3.004, 3.001, and 3.002. The only thing important about these particular values for x is that they get closer and closer to 3 without equaling 3. So you should try some other values close to 3 to see what happens. Okay, so for example 2, we are going to use the table method. So paano ba siya gagawin? Okay, our table of value is if x is equal to 2.9, the function of x is equal to 6.82. So paano nakuha yung 6.82? So you're going to substitute yung x dito which is 2.9 doon sa ano natin, functions po natin. 2.9 squared times 2 minus 2.9 minus 1 divided by 2.9 minus 1. So if you're going to compute for that one, your limit is equal to 6.82. Okay? Next, 2.997. Ganun din po. We have 2.997 squared multiplied by 2 minus 2.997 minus 1 divided by 2.997 minus 1. Okay? So we're going to solve that one. Your answer is 6.994. So the same procedure hanggang 2.999999, your limit is equal to 6.99999998. So using your table method, as x approaches to 3, ito po yun, okay, your limit or the function of x is also approaching to 7. Okay? So the same procedure with your right values. We have 3.1. Okay? Saan ito? Sandali. 3.1 squared. Okay? So 3.1 squared multiplied by 2 minus 3.1 minus 1 divided by 3.1 minus 1. So the answer is 7.2. So the same procedure hanggang dito. For the last one, 3.00002. Okay? If you're going to substitute it here, squared multiplied by 2 minus 3.002 minus 1 divided by 3.002 minus 1, the answer is 7.0004. So from your right member or right values, if x approaches to 3, your limit is also approaches to 7. Kaya sabi dito, as the x values get closer and closer to 3, the function of x values are getting closer and closer to 7. In fact, we can get the function of x as close to 7 as we want arbitrarily close by taking the value of x very close, sufficiently close to 3. So therefore, the limit of the 2x squared minus x minus 1 divided by x minus 1 as x approaches to 3 is equal to 7. So yun po siya, no? So pag titignan mo using the table method and also with the algebra method, their answers are the same. Okay, any questions po?
Wala na po, sir.
Okay. Next, we have your practice one. Okay. So for 5 minutes, no, we have used the graph of y is equal to the function of x in figure 3 to determine the following limits. Letter A, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 1. Letter B, the limit of the function of t as t approaches to 2. Letter C, the limit the function of x as x approaches to 3. Letter D, the limit the function of w as w approaches to 4. So in your practice 1, okay, you're going to use the graph method in finding the limit. In practice 2, evaluate limit x squared minus x minus 2 divided by x minus 2 as x approaches to 2. Letter B, limit t sine t all over t squared plus 3t as t approaches to 0. So practice 1, use the graph method. Practice 2, can you use the algebra method? We're going to check your answers. Okay, take your time. So for we have 2, 0, 1, 2 or 4, evaluate 3 and then Sarah. Okay? So we're going to check your answers, no? Okay, for letter A, the limit of
Tingnan
function of
natin.
x as x approaches to 1. Okay? As x approaches to 1, project it upward, project it to the left, the answer is 2. Okay? So next, we have letter B, the limit of the function of t as t approaches to 2. Okay? So, ito na siya. Project it upward, project it to the left, the answer ay 2 pa rin siya. Okay? Yung point dito, this is an irrelevant limit, no? Okay. So, ito yung ano natin, as x approaches to 2, our answer is 2 pa rin siya for letter B. Okay? So, hindi po siya 0, no? Okay. Next, letter C, the limit of the function of x as x approaches to 3. So, ito na yung 3 po natin. Okay? Project it upward. Okay? So, tulad po ng tinitingnan po natin, meron tayong dalawang function. Ito yung isa, ito yung pangalawa. So, therefore, meron tayong dalawang sagot, either 1 or 2.
Or 2.
Pero ang tawag po doon sa sagot na yon is an undefined limit.
Undefined.
So, pag ganitong dalawa, your limit does not exist. There is no limit. Okay? Or limit does not exist. Dahil hindi natin pwedeng sabihin, ito bang gagamitin or ito yung gagamitin natin. So there's no specific function ang sinabi kung ano yung gagamitin. Either ito or ito siya. Kasi pag titingnan mo, iba yung curve nito, iba rin yung curve din nito. So they have different function. So therefore, as x approaches to 3, you have you have no limit po. Okay? For the last one, the limit of the function of w as w approaches to 4, okay? So your answer is 2 or 4. Okay? Yun na siya, no? Oops, project it upward. Okay? Ibig sabihin, may tinamaan siyang function. Nag-iisang function.
So,
So, project it to the left, the answer is 1 po.
what?
Yung tuldok po dito, ang tawag po dito, kahit maraming tuldok yan na walang tinamaan ng function, these are irrelevant limit. Okay? Yun po yung
Yes, sir.
tawag. Pero pag maraming function siya, maraming tuldok dito, ang tawag doon ay undefined limit.
Defined, sir.
Okay. Next, for practice 2. So 2 does not exist, no limit, and then when. So doon sa letter A po natin, we're going to factor that. Dahil 2 minus 2 is 0. So we're going to look for their common factor. Their common factor is x minus 2, x minus 2. We're going to cancel. So what's left will be x plus 1, okay? As x approaches to 2, so 2 plus 1, our answer is 3. So ibig sabihin, tama po yung sagot natin. Okay? Pero doon sa letter B, pag sinubstitute natin yung 0 dito, 0 squared is 0 pa rin, plus 3 times 0 is 0 pa rin. So what we're going to do, we're going to factor. Okay? So ang factor niya, t sine t all over t multiplied by t plus 3 as t approaches to 0. So yung t dito sa t, cancel na siya. What's left will be limit sine t all over t plus 3. So by this time, your denominator is not equal to 0. We have 0 plus 3, we have 3. Although your numerator is 0 siya, but still, your denominator is not equal to 0. Does not break the rules for the quotient rule. So 0 divided by 3, the answer is 0. Okay? Any more questions po?
Wala na po, sir.
Okay?
Medyo nalito lang po kanina.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, next we have your example 3, no? Find the limit of 2x squared minus x minus 1 as x approaches to 1. So if you're going to make use of the table method, no? Algebra method, 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay? So ibig sabihin nun, if 1 minus 1 is 0, we're going to find their common factor. So since x approaches to 1, their common factor is x minus 1, x minus 1. X minus 1 dito sa taas, x minus 1 din. So we have 2. So the second factor is 2x plus 1. X minus 1, 2x plus 1, x minus 1. So yung ano dito, yung x minus 1, x minus 1 will cancel. What's left will be 2x plus 1. So as x approaches to 1, 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1. The answer is 3. So using the algebra method, our limit is equal to 3. Pero sabi dito, you are going to make use of table method, no? Solution. You may try to evaluate the function of x equal to 2x squared minus x minus 1 divided by x minus 1 at x is equal to 1. But f is not defined at x is equal to 1. It is tempting but wrong to conclude that this function does not have a limit as x approaches to 1. Okay? So this is now your table method. So nag-assume sila ng value from the left and the right which is very close and closer to 1. So 0.9, okay? So substitute natin dito, 0.9 squared multiplied by 2 minus 0.9 minus 1 divided by 0.9 minus 1, the answer is 2.82. So the same procedure hanggang dito, 0.9999999, your limit is equal to 2.9999998. So as x approaches to 1, your function or your limit is also approaches to 3. Okay? So the same dito from the right, as x approaches to 1, okay, we have your limit is equal to 3.2. So last 1.007, the same procedure pa rin. Pag sinobstitute natin po siya dito, your limit is 3.0014. So as x approaches to 1, your limit is also approaches to 3. So the function of f is not defined at x is equal to 1, but when x is close to 1, the value of the function of x are getting very close to 3. So we can get the function of x as close to 3 as we want by taking x very close to 1. So therefore, the limit of 2x squared minus x minus 1 divided by x minus 1 as x approaches to 1, the answer is 3. So using algebra method or table method, their answers are the same. Pero mas mahirap po yung table method. Dahil bawat assumption mo na numbers is close to the given constant, you're going to solve based on the given function. So medyo matagal po yung table method natin. Okay? So we have your last example. Number 4, evaluate the limit x squared plus 5x plus 6 divided by x squared plus 3x plus 2 as x approaches to 0. Dito, limit x squared plus 5x plus 6, x squared plus 3x plus 2 as x approaches to negative 2. Okay? So this is the solution. The function and its limit is the same. So pag titingnan mo, pareho lang yung function sa letter A at saka function sa letter B. But x is approaching a definite number in each of them. Pero yung limit nila, hindi sila pareho. Yung isa approaches 0, yung isa approaches to negative 2. Okay? So, uh, pag titingnan po dito for letter A, since x approaches 0, we know that x is getting closer and closer to 0. So the values that x squared, 5x, and 3x terms get as close to 0 as we went. The numerator approaches 6 and the denominator approaches 2. So the values of the whole function get arbitrarily close to 6 all over 2 is equal to 3. So this is the limit. So paano ko yung limit na 3? So from our letter A, 0 squared, 0 pa rin. 5 times 0, 0 pa rin. So naiwan is 6 po siya. Sa denominator po natin, 0 squared, 0 pa rin. 3 times 0 is 0. So itong dalawa, 0. Itong dalawa, 0. What's left will be 6 divided by 2. The answer is 3. Okay? Any questions po for letter A?
Wala po, sir.
Okay, next for letter B. As x approaches negative 2, the numerator and denominator approaches 0. And a small number divided by a small number can be almost anything. The ratio depends on the size of the top compared to the bottom. So more investigation is needed. So doon sa letter B po natin, first we're going to try the algebra method. Although we're going to solve this one using the three methods. Okay? So negative 2 squared is 4 plus 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. 4 plus negative 6 is negative 2 plus 2, the answer is 0. Okay? So 0 yung denominator natin dito. Kaya sabi niya dito, the numerator and denominator approach 0. So try natin, negative 2 squared is 4 plus 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. So 4 plus negative 10 is negative 6 plus 6, the answer is 0 pa rin. Okay? So, if we're going to make try of algebra method, we're going to look for their common factor. So their common factor will be, as x approaches negative 2, their common factor is x plus 2. X plus 2, x plus 2. Second factor, dahil 3 yan, we have x plus 1. So x plus 2, x plus 1. Sa taas, x plus 2. Dahil 5 yan, we have second factor is x plus 3. X plus 2, x plus 3, x plus 2, x plus 1. So x plus 2 we're going to cancel. What's left will be x plus 3, x plus 1. So if we're going to substitute negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. Negative 2 plus 1, we have negative 1. So therefore, 1 divided by negative 1, our limit is negative 1 using algebra method. Okay? Pero check natin, you're going to make use of table and graph method. So ito yung table method po natin. Okay? If we fix some values of x close to but equal to negative 2, we get the table. So from your left and right, ito yung left po natin, which is less than 2, negative 1.97 and negative 1.998. Yung right po natin, greater than negative 2, 2.005 and negative 2.003. So gagawin po natin, substitute natin. Negative 1.97 from our numerator squared plus 5 multiplied by negative 1.97 plus 6, the answer is 0.03009. Next, for the denominator, negative 1.97 squared plus 3 multiplied by negative 1.97 plus 2, the answer is negative 0.0291. Okay? Then after that, we're going to divide. Ito yung numerator natin, ito yung denominator, itong dalawa, i-divide natin. The answer is negative 1.61856. Okay? So the same procedure up to negative 2.003. So ito yung results po natin sa numerator, negative 0.002999, negative 0.309. Pero yung limit nila, if we're going to divide that, we have negative 0.9996666. So if we're going to look on our table, as x approaches negative 2, ito na po siya, no? Your limit or the function y is equal to function of x, which is your limit, is also approaches to negative 1. Even though the numerator and denominator are each getting closer and closer to 0, their ratio is getting arbitrarily close to negative 1, which is the limit. Okay, so using the table method, the limit is also approaches to negative 1. Okay, any questions for the table method?
Wala na po, sir.
Okay.
Na-gets naman po.
Next. Okay, so this is your graph method, no? So the graph method of y is equal to the function of x equal to x squared plus 5x plus 6 divided by x squared plus 3x plus 2 in figure 6 shows that the value of the function of x are very close to negative 1 when x values are close to negative 2. So this is your x and y axis. Since our value is negative 2 for the x, which means we are located on the third quadrant. So this first, second, third, and fourth quadrant. In your third quadrant, we have the value of x is negative, and the value of y is also negative. So ito po na yung functions po natin. When y is equal to x squared plus 5x plus 6, x squared plus 3x plus 2. So using the graph method, if x approaches to negative 2, okay, project it downward, yan na siya, and then project it to the right. So ibig sabihin, your answer is negative 1. Approaches negative 1 using the graph method. So mas madali yung graph method dahil wala ng computations. Ang gagawin mo lang, tiglang mo siya, project it upward, project it to the right, we have now your limit, which is equivalent to negative 1. Okay? And for the last one, using the algebra method, the function of x is equal to x squared plus 5x plus 6 divided by x squared plus 3x plus 2. So ito na yung common factor na sinasabi ko kanina. So cancel yan. Natira will be x plus 3, x plus 1. Negative 2 plus 3, we have positive 1. Negative 2 plus 1, we have negative 1. So therefore, 1 divided by negative 1, our answer is negative 1 as x approaches to negative 2. So if we're going to look on the three answers that we have using algebra method, using the table method, and using the graph method, as x approaches negative 2, their answers are the same, is also approaches to negative 1. Okay? So yun po yung paggamit ng tatlong method in finding the limits of a given functions. Okay? Any more questions po?
Yes, sir. Wala po. So,
Wala na.
pareho lang pala sila, sir, na ano.
Pare lang,
na
pero
sagot.
mas mahirap using the table method dahil ang dami kang i-compute, no? Pero sa graph method,
Kaya nga
tingnan
po,
mo lang
sir.
yung figure natin, meron ka ng sagot. Sa algebra, madali lang siya provided that the limit of the denominator is not 0. Pero pag 0, you're going to look for their common factor. Okay? Wala nang tanong?
Wala na po, sir.
Okay, so that ends our discussion for today. Thank you again for the participation. Thank you for the answers. See you again next meeting po.